recognizes the gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and to include extraneous material on House Resolution 943, the resolution now under consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honored to support House Resolution 943, a resolution honoring the astronauts of the Space Shuttle Challenger who lost their lives on January 28, 1986, and I congratulate Mr. Hodes for preparing this resolution. The tragic loss of the Challenger and her crew of 7 serves as a continuing reminder that spaceflight is anything but routine. As we continue to explore outer space, we here on the ground must do our part to ensure that we have learned the lessons of the Challenger accident and work tirelessly to make space travel as safe as possible for future generations of explorers. In addition, I believe that we can best honor the sacrifices of the crew of the Challenger made by renewing our commitment to America's space program, continuing the nation's journey into space, a goal to which they dedicated their lives. Mr. Speaker, it is appropriate that we pause today to honor the memory of the Challenger crew, and I urge all my colleagues to support this resolution. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Louisiana reserves. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Feeney.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman's recognized.
I want to thank my colleague, Mr. Melanson, for shepherding this memorial to the floor today. With this resolution, the House of Representatives joins with all Americans to solemnly remember the loss of the Space Shuttle Challenger 22 years ago on January 28, 1986. Many Americans remember where they were on that cold January morning when the Shuttle Challenger leapt from its launch pad. After receiving the call, "Challenger, go it, throttle up," Challenger disintegrated in clear blue skies just 73 seconds into its flight. We were stunned. One moment Challenger was flawlessly flying on a beautiful winter morning. Then without warning, it was gone. America turned to mourn its 7 astronauts who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the advancement of exploration and discovery. Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAuliffe, a school teacher from Concord, New Hampshire, selected to be the first member of the teaching profession in a space project. That evening, President Reagan spoke from the Oval Office to comfort a grieving nation. Millions of children had watched the launch because Krista McAuliffe was later to teach science lessons from space. Instead, we were reminded of a deeper lesson. Reagan said, in quotes, "I want to say something to the school children of America who are watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them." Reagan concluded his address by saying this: "The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us by the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God." 22 years have passed. America has kept its word. We haven't forgotten the Challenger crew. Human space flight is mankind's most difficult endeavor. America has achieved so many successes that space flight seems routine. Yet every generation unexpectedly bears witness to space flight's inherent dangers. Before Challenger disaster, the Apollo 1 crew was lost on Pad 34 on January 27, 1967, in an accident known simply as the fire. After Challenger, we waited on February 1, 2003 at the Kennedy Space Center's landing strip for the Voyagers of Columbia, who never returned home. January and February are NASA's cruelest months. On each occasion, the people of NASA grieved terribly, but they learned from adversity, and then they dedicated themselves to their mission. America landed on the moon after the fire. After Challenger, the shuttle flew again to pursue scientific discovery and begin constructing the International Space Station. After Columbia, we returned to flight, and we will complete and use the International Space Station. Then we will turn our dreams to exploring beyond Earth orbit by establishing outposts on the moon and then going further beyond. Exploration, journey, and bravery define the American people. Each of us comes with a heritage where someone with great courage took a passage to a new beginning, many times with disastrous endings. But the living stubbornly persevered, pushed back vast frontiers, and built a great and glorious nation. Adversity, including the loss of the Challenger crew, can never extinguish this American spirit. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to support this resolution honoring the brave and dedicated crew of Challenger. I urge my colleagues to support House Resolution 943, and with that, I would reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Florida reserves his time. The gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Speaker,